Welcome back, everybody, to the Aurora Show, and I am finally making my way into Libra rising. Um, and so, in the zodiacal wheel, right, Aries through Virgo, that is the axis of the wheel that is self-oriented. Okay, so when we talk about Aries and Virgo, first house through the sixth house in astrology, these are self-focus areas, right? This is either self-awareness, self-identity, self-development. It is things that are very core and personal to us, right? So when we hit Libra, and Libra ruling the seventh house, right? We enter the part of the zodiac archetypes that are other focused. Okay, so Libra is the first point, it is the middle point of the zodiac where it shifts from self-focus, from things that are very core and personal to us, and we start to enter the realm of the other. And this marks a turning point in the archetypal wheel, right? So that's kind of what makes Libra interesting. For one, is that they are the first sign that is other oriented, right? And other means other people, external environments, external focus, right? Whereas, like I said, the first six archetypes are about the self, are about the immediate things that we are aware of, working on, things that are very much about the inner state, etc. So that's what makes Libra rising very interesting, and I'll get to why that is. The second thing that makes Libra rising and the Libra archetype unique as well is that Libra is the only sign of the entire zodiac that is represented by an inanimate object. Okay, so if you look at all the other zodiacal archetypes, they are represented by either a human of some kind, right? So we think about Gemini is the twins, right? It's the duality, it's both sides of the brain, it's information. They are represented by the twins, right? When you get to Virgo, Virgo is represented by the virgin, right? We talked about the purity, the maiden. And then you have things like Sagittarius, who are kind of a dual. They're part animal, part human. It's the centaur, right? You have Aquarius, the water bearer. And then you have all the other signs that are represented by animals. Okay, so Aries is the ram. Taurus is the bull. Cancer is the crab. Leo is the lion. Scorpio is either the scorpion or the phoenix. Pisces is the two fish. Libra stands alone as being this anomaly in a way within the zodiac. Like I said, not only is it very interesting because Libra rules that turning point where it's no longer just about the self. It's all of a sudden, how does the self connect to the outer world? How does the self connect to others? How does the outside reality influence the inside? How do other people influence me? It's an anomaly, right? And they're the only inanimate object represented by the scales. So they're not human and they're not animalistic. So if you are a Libra rising, this is probably why you feel a sense of oddness in the world. I'll get to many reasons why Libra is an anomaly. That's two of those reasons, right? So represented by the scales, right? So Libra has a way, our archetype, and I am a Libra rising. So that's another reason why I'm trying to be as objective. As astrologers, we try to be as objective as possible. When, looking at data and pattern recognition and understanding archetypes and stuff. But, I am inevitably going to put some of my own personal experiences in here because I am a Libra rising and a Libra sun. So I feel like I know Libras. And so we are objective by nature. The scales, we are exalted by Saturn. Okay. Saturn exalts in Libra. We are about the scales of justice. We are karma embodied. We also have a strange dynamic where we are represented by the archetype of the other, relating, relationships, exchanges, contracts, right? But yet we are very detached because the scales are objective, right? They're not taking things personal. They're not weighing things based on their personal likes and dislikes and preferences. Like, the scale is the scale, right? Whether you like it or not, right? When you step on the scale and it tells you how much you weigh, like, it's just giving you the raw objective data. You know, there's nothing more to it. And that's a lot of how Libra is. There is a karmic aspect to Libra. Again, because Saturn exalts in Libra, is that we just have this nature that everything is constantly being weighed. Everything has to be equal and balanced with Libra. And so this leads me to my third reason of why Libra is an anomaly. When you look at especially Libra risings, okay, not just Libra placements, but specifically Libra rising, our entire charts are inverted. They are flipped, right? Whereas when we had Aries rising, all of your chart, if you're an Aries rising, all of your houses will be ruled by their proper rulers. This is why they're very strong and it's a lot of energy, because all of your houses are ruled by their natural rulers. Everything makes sense, right? Everything adds up, right? Everything is where it's supposed to be. With Libra, everything is the exact opposite. So this makes it challenging for us because all of our houses are ruled by the opposite rulers. Nothing about Libra risings makes sense. This is where the anomaly thing comes from, and why Libra risings, they are kind of enigmas in a way, because again, we are the scales. We are not human and we are not animals. So what are we, right? We are kind of a force. We are an energy. They're like I said, it's a lot about karmic balancing. We are the first sign to create the experience of the mirror, right? Because the external world and other people are a mirror of what's going on internally, okay? So Libra is that sign that creates the mirror for the first time. Imagine like you are the first human being ever created, right? So you're basically moving through the whole first 6 signs of the zodiac and the first 6 houses. You're by yourself, right? Imagine you're plopped onto a planet. It's just you, okay? The whole experience of that in like self-discovery. What am I doing here? You're figuring things out. You're figuring how to support yourself. Where did I come from? Who am I? What do I want to do here? What do I want to create? What do I want to build, right? That is all the first half of the zodiac. Imagine then another person is just plopped down with you. All of a sudden it's like, oh, well, what are you doing here? Right? Now I've got to work with this other person. Now I've got to communicate with this other person. I have to understand this other person that I've never met before. And they're now in my world. And now we have to work together. We have to agree on things, right? It becomes a mirror. You start to get reflections back from the external world. That is Libra. And so it's weird. It's weird. And all of our houses don't make sense. So if you're a Libra rising and you feel like your life is so flipped on its head, so opposite in many ways from other people, I think this is why Libra risings often feel like they're very misunderstood. They don't really, and they might not understand themselves either. Okay. So, this is an interesting one. And, so Libra is ruled by Venus. So Venus rules Taurus and Libra. So Taurus risings probably will kind of get the Libra risings in a way, right? Because Venus rules both of those signs. The difference is that they express differently in those signs. Venus and Taurus, which we talked about in the Taurus risings, is about manifestation. because Venus is the feminine energy. This is where we get the manifestations and physicality of our creativity, of our embodiment, of our sense of being, right? We are here to literally embody the human experience. We're here to enjoy, to receive, to manifest, right? Beauty and abundance and prosperity in the world, because that is the human experience. That is Taurus. We get this sense of the love of being in the body, the love of the physical world, the love of nature, right? The love of engaging in the five senses, which, you know, we have here as human beings. And in the upper realms, they don't have those senses, right? They're not they don't have touch, taste, smell, right? They have sight, obviously, but they don't have touch. They don't have taste. They don't have smell. They might hear very differently. So that's how Venus expresses in Taurus. In Libra, Venus is expressing through the art of relating to another. The art of how two energies combine. They are also the art of how do energies balance each other out? How do they work together? How do they repel each other? Okay, so we're working in a different way with Venus and Libra. Okay, so our first house, so Libra rising's your first house is Libra, which is the opposite sign that is supposed to be in the first house, right? Aries traditionally is what we associate with the first house, because the first house is this sense of self. It is the way we navigate the world. It is the lens through which we see the world. Everything we put out into the world, everything we see through our perspective, the aura, the energy we give off, right, is ultimately how we experience the world, okay? And Libra is the sign of the other. So it doesn't make sense. So what's going to happen here is that Libra risings, we do have an issue, right? And this is a lifelong awareness. We have an issue with trying to find our sense of self and our sense of identity through others. And that can be a dangerous game. Now, one benefit of it, there's always shadow sides to this. Basically, Libra, our entire chart, this is why Libra is balance. Because in our day-to-day experience, especially Libra risings, but if you do have major Libra placements as well, our entire life is about figuring out the balance of things. It's about figuring out what's fair, what's balance, what's correct, what is equal. That's our whole fucking life, right? And it's exhausting sometimes because all of our houses are out of balance. And so your sense of identity, your sense of self, it is a dangerous game to try to find that in others, right? And what I mean by that is that Libra risings will often craft their sense of self by the feedback of others, okay? The reason this is dangerous, this is the shadow part, is because one, remember, when you have Libra rising and Libra rules your first house, you are the mirror. You are the mirror. So what's going to happen is that you often mirror to others things about themselves. And if they don't like those things, they're going to project it back onto you, okay? Libra risings will face a lot of projections because people are seeing themselves reflected to them. And if they don't like it, they're going to project it back onto you. Now, if a Libra rising doesn't have a core sense of self, which we often don't, especially in the first half of our life, we just don't fucking know what's going on, who we really are, right? We absorb those projections and we make them part of our identity. And it's not who we are. Now, on the flip side, because we're the mirror as well, we often reflect back to people not only their shadows, which if they don't like them, they'll project them back onto us, but we reflect the best parts of them back to them. And then they associate those positive qualities with us, right? So we're getting both sides of it. We are getting we're mirroring people constantly. And then what happens is when we get validated for mirroring those positive qualities, we're like, oh, let me do more of that. And then let me do less of this because they're saying that this is bad and this part of my personality isn't good, but it's really their own shadow that they're seeing. So we start morphing ourselves like chameleons to meet other people's likes and dislikes, expectations, all because Libra loves to bond. Venus and Libra, we do love relating to others. We like peace and harmony. We like the scales to be balanced. And so this is where the people-pleasing conditioning comes in, because we start to morph ourselves into what other people like, into what they validate, into what makes them comfortable. This will distort your sense of self. So Libra risings, we have to have this constant balancing act between the first house that is in Libra and the seventh house of relationships, which is in Aries. So it is actually through relationships and through the art of relating that we do discover who we actually are. But it tends to be that we have to go through this huge process of deconstructing the parts that aren't actually us, that are actually projections, or things we have absorbed and kind of taken on as these like personality traits because other people liked it, because it was validated, because it made people feel good and comfortable, but it's actually not truthful to who we are, right? So that's going to be one issue with the Libra rising first house. Now, the beauty of this is that Libra risings are incredibly self-aware. They are incredibly self-aware people because they are constantly gauging how the energy they're putting off is affecting other people. They are constantly getting the feedback, right, from everything in the external world. And so they tend to be more self-aware because they're always looking at that feedback. So that's the beauty. There's so much growth and personal development and self-awareness that comes from it. The danger is when you take that feedback and personalize it, because a lot of the times the feedback you're getting is other people's shadows. And so it does take a long time to kind of get to this, but in its highest state, Libra rising, Libra first house, we are the mirror. We are the mirror. We can bring self-awareness. We can bring insights. We are the walking scales. We will balance any environment we're in, any person we're around. We will end up seeking the balance, right? Now, your second house of self-worth and manifestations and abundance and prosperity is in Scorpio. Yeah. So deep transformations have to happen around our self-worth. And again, all the houses always link back to the first house, right? Because we have a poor sense of self, we have to really go through deep inner transformation and deep inner work in the second house to find our sense of self-worth. Scorpio forces us on that deep dive. Now, this can also lead to some of the other stereotypes about Libra risings. Libra does love beauty. Like, let's not get it twisted, right? Like Libra, because it's ruled by Venus, Libra risings, Taurus risings, people with major placements there, you will often see these people as very beautiful. They just emanate a beauty. That is just because of the the Venus rulership. But Libra does love love. Libra does love relating. They love beauty, harmony, art. They love peace. They love everything to be this perfection, okay? So and we'll get to that Virgo 12th house, okay? We have this desire for perfection, and that often comes out in everything around us. We like beauty, we like harmony, we like relationships, and we want them all to be perfect, okay? Because we're always trying to find that exact balance, that perfection. So when the scales are balanced, everything is perfect. When those scales go out of balance, I'll get to this with an Aries 7th house. This is why sometimes Libras are extremists, because if the scale has become super imbalanced, the only way to correct it is by going to an extreme. So Libras, even though we love balance, we are often extremists as well. And so our desire for love and partnership and beauty and everything to be perfect, right? With that second house, we can also have obsessions around the way we look. Second house, self-worth. There's often like an obsession about the way that we look. Everything needs to be perfect. Again, Virgo 12th house. We can be possessive. In my younger years, I was super possessive because Scorpio second house, like whatever is in our lives, people, places, things, money, resources, whatever it is, Scorpio does not like loss. Scorpio is intense, right? It wants to merge with whatever it loves, right? And Scorpio does not do well with loss. It rips a part of their soul out. So that's why wherever you have Scorpio, it tends to be where we have to experience loss. We have to learn how to heal grief. We have to learn how to let go of some heavy emotions, right? Things like that. So with Libra second house, you can be, especially in your earlier years, I was super possessive. Especially about things, people, etc. We might have a lot of ups and downs financially in order to basically teach us how to let go. But also remember, Scorpio is where you have power, okay? So Libra risings, you have an incredible power, an intense power to manifest abundance and prosperity and resources. The key is you have to be willing to let them go too. You have to be non-attached. Non-attachment is the key, right? This is why the greatest percentage of billionaires in the world are Libras. Libra has the ability to gain mass amounts of resources, especially Libra risings, because of that second house Scorpio, but it is not without trials. It is not without really going into the depth and the rock bottoms of self-worth, learning how to let things go, learning how to release things, right? Now, third house of communication is ruled by Sagittarius. Libra risings are fucking funny. They really are, because Sagittarius is fun, lighthearted, right? A little bit blunt, a little bit loud, right? But Sagittarius also loves to travel. They're very philosophical, but they're very truthful. Sagittariuses speak truth, but the one thing Sagittariuses are excellent at, and way better than any of the other signs, is they don't take life too seriously. They understand the art of humor. They understand that life is one big experience. So Libra risings with a Sag third house, you're funny. Lean into it. Utilize the humor. We are very blunt sometimes. Again, that's where Libra can get the rap of not only people pleasing, but then on the extreme being cold or being detached. But it's really just, we're an inanimate object. Like, what else do you want us to do? Like, we're not deeply in the emotions. We're looking at things a lot objectively. And so we kind of have this way of sometimes blurting things out or speaking a harsh truth. I used to do that when I was younger too. I was really blunt. And I had to curb that a little bit, but it also gives us this incredible ability to learn. So a lot of Libra risings, we love to do research. We love to learn new topics. You probably love to travel. We just love diving into experiences and learning new things and, sharing truths, sharing knowledge, sharing wisdoms, right? Now, this leads to the fourth house, the first angular house of the home and family, how you grew up, the core inner self. This is another reason why Libra risings will come off as emotionally detached or cold. Our fourth house is ruled by Capricorn. There's nothing we can do about it, okay? We didn't grow up in childhoods and environments that were very emotional. I would be shocked if any Libra risings grew up with like a lot of emotional intelligence. Like, we just didn't have it. So we grew up in environments and childhood where emotions were not really a thing. Maybe the parents were very stoic. Oftentimes we grow up in households where the focus is about productivity, achievement, work ethic. You also, if you're a Libra rising, could have grown up in an environment where you had to take on a lot of responsibility at a young age. Maybe you were an older sibling having to raise younger siblings. Maybe you had to take care of your parents. Maybe you had to start working really early in life and help with the household. Or if that wasn't the case and you're more like me, which I didn't do those things, but I did grow up in a way that was, it's not about your feelings, it's about what are you achieving? What are you working on? What's your plan in life? Like, we have to be successful here. You've got to have good work ethic and work hard. And so a lot of Libra risings had a really tough childhood. Again, doesn't mean trauma necessarily, right? In the way that maybe a Leo rising would have with a Scorpio fourth house, right? That can be somewhat traumatic. But we know we are resilient. That fourth house of the core inner self has built us a resilience because we have been through a lot of shit. Okay, Capricorn isn't an easy place to have the fourth house because, again, its opposite sign is Cancer. We're supposed to grow up feeling this sense of nurturing and love and safety and, that sense of warmth. And we're in the opposite here. So we didn't grow up like that. We don't have that, right? So we have to learn that emotional intelligence later on in life. We have to learn that it's okay to have feelings. We have to learn how to express and process our feelings. But Libra risings are hard workers. That's one thing you'll notice about all of them. They are very hard workers, and they are resilient. They've been through shit, right? Capricorn's ruled by Saturn. So Saturn rules our fourth house. Shit wasn't easy. We didn't get the easy end of the stick. We don't know what it's like to play a lot. There can be an over seriousness. There can be a lack of joy, a lack of play, right? So that is something we're always, again, all these houses are inverted, right? Like, the second house ruled by Scorpio, that's supposed to be the house of Taurus. It's supposed to be that, we're able to manifest things, right? We're able to enjoy the human experience. We're able to put the work and effort in to bring ourselves abundance and security. And instead we have it in Scorpio, which is deeply psychological, which is deeply about loss and grief and traumas and fears. And so we don't know what it's like to just enjoy stuff. It always feels like something's going to be lost. Something's going to be taken from us. Our sense of self-worth is so psychological and requires such a deep dive. We can't just simply enjoy shit. It feels too easy. It feels like it's not hard enough, right? The only one that's kind of, I think, actually okay being inverted is the third house into Sagittarius. It gives us an incredible brain, an incredible ability to dive deeply and to learn things and also see the big picture. This is where we're able to see two sides of the story. We're able to see and understand that there's always your truth, my truth, and the truth. Libras always understand all sides. We're not fixated necessarily on one particular opinion or one particular side. We are able to see the big picture and the details at the same time. So I think actually that third and ninth house inverted isn't as detrimental to us. But, fourth house inverted, that's rough. It's rough, right? And then you get to the fifth house of joy, self-expression. It's where we're supposed to really be able to have self-confidence and to really value what is unique about us, right? The fifth house is traditionally ruled by Leo. It's where we play in life. It's where we feel excited and joyful. It's where the juice of life comes. And it's ruled by fucking Aquarius, right? Aquarius is by nature somewhat pessimistic. So there's that. And also Aquarius is also very detached, and Aquarius seeks to see the the gifts of everybody, right? Aquarius is looking at the whole, all the systems, right? So Aquarius knows they're unique, but they're not really able to celebrate themselves like a Leo can. Okay, Aquarius is like, they don't want attention. They like to stay behind the scenes. They're focused on the whole and how their skills and their gifts can be of service to the whole, can better the whole. They often find themselves in isolation as well, because sometimes they're very unique and different, and they're not as easily understood. And so sometimes that leads to some kinds of rejection and feeling a bit isolated. And that's all in our 5th house of joy, and where we're supposed to be proud of ourselves and confident, where we're supposed to dive into the passions of life. It's again, it's an odd thing because there's an insecurity with Libra risings. We lack the self-confidence in many ways. But at the same time, the beauty of that too is a lot of things we're passionate about, a lot of things we love are going to be super niche. They're not going to be what everybody's into. Like, I remember when I first started studying astrology, that was back in like 2008 or something. Yeah, about 2008. I was 17, 18. Nobody was into astrology. It was like a stupid hobby. Nobody believed in astrology. Everybody thought I was just like, horoscopes are stupid and astrology's weird, and like nobody thought it was cool. And I was obsessed with it. So, it took a long time for that to even be cool or interesting or, whatever. Also, Aquarius, because it's very humanitarian. Right? I think a lot of the passion and the joy and the creativity that we have in the 5th house is geared towards how is it going to serve humanity? How is this going to be philanthropic or humanitarian in some way? So I do think Libra risings do really well with follow your passions and your creative outlets, even if they're super niche and people don't really get them yet. They're not as seen. They're not as celebrated as if we had a Leo 5th house, right? You might be very much behind the scenes. You might not really, be recognized, but just do what you love, even if it's weird, even if it's super niche. And you might find that you really love things that are more humanitarian based, philanthropic based, right? Now, the other thing is the 5th house is where we fall in love, right? It's our attraction to people. It's like the way that we begin a relationship, right? That's the 5th house. There has to be a magnetism. There has to be a chemistry there. In Aquarius, it's so detached that sometimes we can have this real detachment, where we struggle to feel the fullness of these houses because they're inverted. So I think our lifelong process is to be able, and we will go through extremes with this, right? We will have extremes where these houses are completely inverted and we are feeling the total opposite in that house that we are meant to feel. And then we'll go through extremes where we have to really dive into what it's supposed to feel like so that we can get that, right? Libra needs the contrast. So like, for example, right, with 5th house in Aquarius, we might find that you maybe a lot in life, you felt really kind of detached in romantic relationships. Like it just wasn't interesting. Maybe Aquarius is very friendship oriented. Maybe you constantly felt like you were kind of dating a friend. There wasn't that passion. There wasn't that chemistry. There wasn't that real sense of love and, magnetism there. So sometimes we might have to really dive into experiencing the opposite and experience the total Leo of the 5th house, right? In order to find where the balance fits, right? So that's the art here, is we have to try different things. We have to try. It's not that we need to go against our charts because they're set up like this for a reason, but they do have to come into balance because they're completely opposite. So we sometimes have to figure out where in these charts we're a little imbalanced. And of course, our ruling planet is Venus. So wherever your Venus lies in the houses, that is an area to really, really embrace and look at, okay? Sixth house of health and wellness, daily routines, work. The irony here, Libra risings can work very, very hard, and that is because of the Capricorn fourth house. Yet, our sixth house is ruled by fucking Pisces. It just doesn't get worse than that in my perspective. It makes us not set up for normal jobs, for normal working life. We don't have the energy for it. The sixth house is typically ruled by Virgo. Virgo has the energy for the daily work, the daily tasks, the daily grind, right? It's in their very nature. Pisces just wants to rest and daydream a little and just feel whatever they're feeling that day, right? It's a vibe, it's a mood. Well, I can't just not go to work because it's not the vibe today, right? But that is how Libra risings often feel. It's very hard for us to keep strict schedules. We often burn out from it. I am trying to balance that out. It's a light, especially because Saturn and Neptune have been in Pisces in our sixth houses. Pray for us. So we can feel like we're being lazy because we don't really work in this traditional daily routine. We can find that our daily routines are very fluid. We feel like we can't stick to anything super consistently. Again, we need to find the balance between this house. What works for us, what gives us a sense of flow, but what is also structured, what is also consistent, and that takes a moment. Now, also, Libra risings, you will find that you have very odd and mysterious symptoms and ailments and illnesses often. And that is because Pisces rules the sixth house. And it doesn't make sense. And a lot of our symptoms and ailments and things that come through the health and wellness of the sixth house don't make sense. And a lot of them are energetic and spiritual in nature. So holistic healing, learning metaphysics, that's going to be very helpful for you because a lot of our symptoms and ailments and things don't make sense. They are so freaking random. And I've learned, at least with my own experience, when I approach it from the holistic and metaphysical side, it tends to heal faster. That's just my experience. Seventh house, the house of Libra, ruled by Aries. So fun. So the seventh house, I think I've shared this in past videos, is the house of open enemies. I talked about how that really is, it's a reflection of your shadow, okay? So think about this. The seventh house is the outer world. It is other people. It is the external world, right? And this is your first house. They're opposing each other. So they are the farthest away from each other. So when we're living in our first house, our sense of identity, it is actually sometimes very far removed from how the external world is actually perceiving us, okay? We think we're one way, but the world is interacting with us through an entirely different way. This is where the blind spots can occur. So this is why the house of relationships is actually where we learn the most about ourselves. Why? Because the seventh house is ruled by Libra. It's about the mirror. You have to have the mirror to understand more about yourself, right? But our seventh house is ruled by Aries. So here's the problem with that, right? For one, we want the peace and the harmony. We want the balance. It's our whole fucking shtick. We crave it so deeply. We want everything to be just harmonious and just ease and flow and perfection. And we spend our whole life trying to find that. And in the seventh house of relationships, the house in which we need this house because it helps us develop our sense of self, right? It's Aries. This is actually where we find more about ourselves. We find our self-identities. The problem is twofold. One is that we often will be in relationships with people who are very dominating, Aries energy. They can be very selfish, self-oriented, and very dominating. So what happens? We lose our sense of self even more. We attract people who are very loud, very dominating, very confident in who they are, which makes us even more insecure about who we are, more lost about who we are. Aries is also conflict. So we are dying for this like peace and harmony and like just love bubble. And in our relationships is where we face the most conflict. And it disturbs us on a deep level. And you can see how this conundrum just, I don't know, it just sucks in many ways, right? But here is my personal experience. One is that 7th house in Aries is trying to teach us how to get comfortable with conflict, how to stand up for ourselves, how to stop people pleasing. Okay. It also is teaching us that in relationships, which is our domain, is where we need to find our sense of self. We need to have boundaries. We need to have autonomy. We need to have independence. So we will often go through all of those lessons in the 7th house. Okay. This is also where the famous like Libra detachment comes in, is ultimately because Aries rules our 7th house, we are willing to walk away. We are willing to choose ourselves if we get pushed far enough. Even though we'll try again, try to always resolve, fix it, make it peaceful, balance the scales. But we do get to a certain point where Aries energy will come in and we will absolutely walk away and never look back. And so that's a good thing to integrate as a Libra rising. You have to know where to draw the line. You have to know where to walk away. You have to know when to choose yourself, and you have to know where to really stand in your own power. And that is going to come through relationships. And unfortunately, it's going to come through conflict, right? Now, the 8th house of the deep inner transformation of the psyche, right? The fears, the traumas, the wounds, the power. It's in Taurus. So it's in our bodies. It lies in our bodies. Your fears, your wounds, your traumas, your triggers. Again, that money axis of the 2nd to the 8th house, we have to do a lot of work with that. But a lot of that is going to live in the body, which is the 8th house. So things like somatic healing, like massage therapy, anything that helps release these deeply held frequencies from the body itself. Again, it's a conundrum. Typically in that house where we're doing the deep healing work through the realm of Scorpio, which is emotions and the psychology and kind of facing the inner demons. And here we're doing it straight through the body. Again, this also ties into the Pisces 6th house of health and wellness. We will feel very strange symptoms. I have the weirdest shit happen to me in terms of like body symptoms. It's unreal. And I personally have been implementing just more somatic release. Like instead of trying to kind of psychologically understand what's going on and like figure it all out, I'm just like, okay, let me take the holistic approach. Right? Let me also, 6th house Pisces, surrender and accept that this is just what my body's going through. Trust my body, surrender and accept. Don't try to hyperfixate. Don't try too hard to fix it and heal it. It literally doesn't work. And just focus on the body release. So that's my recommendation for the 8th house, is all these things actually live in the body. And so don't try to approach it from a psychological standpoint, do it from a somatic standpoint. 9th house of higher learning and beliefs and faith is in Gemini. So again, we love to travel. We love to get out and about, but we might be a bit fickle. We don't know what we believe all the time. Gemini's always changing its mind, right? Again, Libra's always weighing the scales. We're always like, determining what is equal, what is balanced, what is fair. We are looking at all sides of the equation. So we can be a bit fickle with the Gemini 9th house. We don't really know what we believe. We change our minds a lot. We love to learn. So we're always evolving in our learning. But eventually we do have to balance out that 3rd and 9th house that's inverted, where we have to be open to learning and new experiences and new wisdoms, but we also have to decide what we believe in and be very clear about that. So there can also be some mental anxiety that comes through the 9th house, where what you believe is going to greatly impact your experience of reality. So Libra risings have to be careful about mental anxieties, overthinking things, because that is what will create a lot of the experiences of the reality there. Now, 10th house of achievement and recognition and success and purpose is in Cancer. So in our home life, in our personal world, in our inner self, we are Capricorn. We are daddy. Okay. We're responsible. We're hardworking. We've got the work ethic. We got the grind. We know what it's like to have to just grind it out, suck it up and do it anyway, man. Like, you know, be responsible, be accountable, but we actually crave that nurturing and that love and that sense of emotional connection through our careers and through our purposes. And it's like almost the wrong place to search for it. Again, it doesn't make sense. So Libra risings might often find that they have a deep emotional connection to their purpose, which can become your career or your role, right? Your mission. You feel a deep emotional connection to it, but this is also where you can take things very personally. Your achievements or lack thereof, when people don't appreciate you for all the work you've done, when you don't feel like people actually recognize the work you've put in and the great things you're doing, or you're too emotionally connected to a job or a purpose or a mission or a role, that is where we will feel the pain of not feeling nurtured there, not feeling loved there. And that really takes a toll on us. So I would say that, again, we have to have some emotional detachment from our purpose and our goal and our role. We can't pour all of our emotional energy into it. Because if we don't get the recognition or the validation from it, we take it really hard. I think also you have to be careful of overpouring your emotions into your job, into your purpose or your mission, right? Because when you do that, you're not pouring that internally. It becomes all about getting to an outcome. And so this is where that 4th house and 10th house have to come into balance. We have to learn the difference between giving ourselves self-love and emotional care and self-fulfillment and being successful externally. Those have to come into balance, right? Now, the 11th house of friendship and community and serving the greater good, and where we're often seen for our gifts and our skills, is in Leo. So this is one area that I won't complain about, because Libra risings will have a lot of friends. People enjoy you. People like to be around you. In social settings, we can be very joyful and very optimistic in the life of the party. We enjoy socializing. We love people. Libra loves people because they love the other. But at the same time, 7th house Aries, we often have to do things on our own. We often are solo riders in some ways. We have to choose ourselves because we can too easily absorb into other people's worlds, into other people's versions of us. So we have to be very careful. But the 11th house, we actually shine there. Our creativity and our energy and our light is seen by the greater world. This is one area, again, that I'm not going to complain about. I think that's actually really fantastic to have Leo in the 11th house. Again, one shadow of that is you cannot rely on the external validation from others. You have to stick with that Aquarius 5th house. Do what you love because you love it, not because people are validating it or celebrating it. You need to do what you love because it's authentic to you. And that will gravitate the right people into that 11th house. But you can be very seen, very celebrated, have a really beautiful group of friends and community. And that is where you come alive. That is where you feel happy and joyful, is, of course, with other people. Okay. 12th house. This is what we have to integrate as Libra risings. As I've said in every video, if we don't integrate the 12th house, it comes out as a deep shadow. Perfectionism. Virgo is the perfectionist, and in the 12th house, it becomes a neuroticism. The 12th house, remember, is super subconscious. So what comes through the shadow of Virgo here in the subconscious? It's an incessant need for perfection. This is what leads to people pleasing, being a chameleon for other people. This is what leads to deep insecurities, lack of self-worth, lack of self-confidence. It's all coming from the 12th house in Virgo. There's an incredible neuroticism about perfection. There can also be, again, because of that 6th house, 12th house thing with Virgo and Pisces, you can feel like you are, like how I experience. I'll just give you how I've experienced, right? I would have very bizarre, very strange physical symptoms that seem to make no sense. Okay. 12th house of Virgo. That also happens to be where my ruler is. So Venus is our ruler. My Venus is in Virgo in the 12th house. Okay. It's like, I don't recommend it, but it is what it is, right? And so Venus and Virgo, a lot of what I feel in my body, physical, right? My health and wellness, again, it all is the same, doesn't make sense. I have completely like spiritual and energetic symptoms often that I spend a lot of time then locking onto, researching, going into the metaphysical aspects, going into the root causes, like researching everything under the sun about what holistically will help it. I become obsessive. And that leads to more stress. Okay. So also stress is a big one. Virgo's shadow is stress, and the stress, the neuroticism lives in the 12th house and it's very subconscious. So again, Capricorn 4th house, we don't often feel how much emotion has been built up inside of us. It's like we can't register it. We just think it's normal. We often don't register when we are overworking, when we're burnt out, when we're overly stressed, because it feels normal. That feels like our normal baseline. And so then what happens? It comes through the 12th house, and it can come out in a few ways. One is going to be somatically. It's going to come out as energetic, spiritual, and physical symptoms. Or it's going to come out where we, again, because Libra's the mirror, we can project this outward, right? We can become very nitpicky, very judgmental and critical of others, because we're feeling all this energy and we don't know where to put it. And because Libra's the other, we might project it out, right? So we might start nitpicking everything around us, other people around us. We might become very critical and judgmental, and because it's coming through the 12th house. This can also get aimed at the self, again, because Libra, first house, it's a lot about having that reflection of self-awareness. So this can become overly self-critical, a lot of negative self-talk, things like that. So it can come out that way as well. So what we have to do to integrate the 12th house with Virgo is you have to manage your stress. We have to be very focused, but not obsessed about the relationship with our health and wellness and our daily routines. We have to find that balance of flow and healing. We also, I think metaphysics is a great thing to learn for Libra risings. We have to basically utilize that Virgo energy in the 12th house remember, Virgo is the purity. It's the original purified state of something. And the 12th house is our subconscious. It's our connection to spirituality, energy, right? And so one thing Libra risings have to do is also because you will attract a lot of people who are in victim consciousness. That's a shadow of both Virgo and Pisces. So subconsciously, if we are in victim consciousness, okay, so this will be our Achilles heel as a Libra rising. If we are in victim consciousness, this is going to fuck us up. This is going to then attract lots of mirrors and lots of experiences from the outside world of other people being the victim. And, we feel like we have to help them kind of thing. Or more experiences that that make us a victim. Okay, so don't go into victim consciousness. Go back to the natural, innate wisdom of Virgo in the 12th house, which is you know how to heal yourself. You are a natural healer. You also know that spirituality is organic, that you understand energy on a natural, organic level. Libras have to, because we understand the natural flow of things. We understand how to balance things. We understand what equalness is supposed to be, what fairness is supposed to be, what justness is supposed to be. So a lot of what we, I think, have to integrate in that 12th house is getting rid of this idea of perfection and going back to naturalness, organicness, really finding our natural state, which is balance. But again, this will go through extremes in your life until we come to remember, I guess, that natural wisdom. Now, some of the examples of Libra risings, what you'll notice about these examples is that because Libra risings have an Aries 7th house, that's where all the action is. All these Libra risings, you will notice that a lot of what they are known for or known by is their relationships. It's like the plague of the Libra rising. We're trying to find our self-autonomy. We're trying to find our own sense of self. Excuse me. But everybody's focused on our relationships. And I think that is a plague of the Libra rising. This is how we get lost in the background. No one really sees. It's hard, I think, for people to see the Libra rising fully. Again, there's just so many odd factors about it, but they tend to focus everything on their relationships, who they're with, who they're married to, what's gone on in their relationships. It's all about their relationships. And I guess because we are ruled by Venus, right? That would make sense. But it also is a lesson for us as well that we need to focus on the person, right? And I think that's the lesson too. As I go through these examples, a lot of these Libra risings all the attention had to do with their relationships. And then after, slowly throughout their lives, they had to develop a sense of self, a sense of autonomy, without that partner, without that relationship, right? So the first example I'll give is Leonardo DiCaprio. I think everyone's been more focused on, that's what he's known for, right? The first thing we think about Leonardo DiCaprio is all the women that he dates and how young they are, right? That's the first thing people think of when they think of him. Or the Titanic, right? And or everyone was obsessed with the fact that him and Kate Winslet seemed like they'd be a great fit and they are very good friends, but it always felt like, why aren't they in a relationship together? Why aren't they together? And then it became that Leonardo's never gotten married and he's dating all these women, and who is he dating? That's the focus. Now, funny enough, remember this, Leonardo DiCaprio had done amazing work. I mean, I think objectively speaking, he is one of the best actors of our time, right? And he never won an Oscar until that random movie that nobody fucking watched. I think it was like the Rembrandt or something. And he didn't even have dialogue in the movie. It was I never watched it, but I heard it was a really violent, bizarre movie where he didn't even have a lot of dialogue. He didn't even speak much throughout the movie. It was all I don't know, just weird. That's what he won an Oscar for? Come on, Shutter Island, Inception, the Titanic. How in the world is that the movie that he won an Oscar for? So those are the only two things that have been the main focus about Leonardo DiCaprio, right? Cancer 10th house. He never got the love and the recognition and the appreciation for his work. That's the wound of the Cancer 10th house, is that's where the Libra rising is actually seeking love and nurturing and appreciation and care and acceptance. And that tends to be where we don't get it. And we don't seek it at home and in the personal life of Capricorn, because that's, you know, it's like, okay, I'll be validated by who? Like my my parents, you know, it's, which Libra risings can do, seek a lot of validation through the parents. But you see my point. It's a very interesting dynamic where Libra risings are often overlooked, and everything instead becomes about the other who's connected to them, but never is about them, right? Wolf of Wall Street, like, how in the world did he not win an Oscar for that? Anyway, Leonardo DiCaprio is a 3rd degree Libra ascendant. That is a Gemini degree. Okay, so he is known obviously for acting, speaking, talking, right? His Venus, 19 degrees Scorpio in the 2nd house. 19 degrees is a Libra degree. Okay, Scorpio is intense. It's magnetic. He has a magnetism to him. I mean, he's a good looking man. All the Libra risings are. There's always been some mystique and like interest about his relationships and who he's with and who he's not. He's a magnetic guy. I mean, we really can't deny that. There's an intensity to him. He's good looking. He's interesting. He's an enigma. Now, he has that Venus and Scorpio in the 2nd house. So my guess, he also has his Sun in Scorpio and Mars in Scorpio all in the 2nd house. So my guess is the reason he has not gotten married or like been with someone long term is because he doesn't trust them financially. He doesn't trust women financially. That is probably one of the main reasons. Also because, and why he constantly dates people and then it seems like he has another girlfriend and another girlfriend, is because he's not letting them fully in. He does have Chiron and Aries in the 7th house. He has a complete wound around really being in a long-term committed relationship with someone. That's the Chiron there. It pushes that away. So we can see all the things, right, about kind of how this is played out in his life. Jennifer Aniston, another great example. Everything that's almost ever said about Jennifer Aniston has to do with her marriage and divorce to Brad Pitt. She, as a person, was really overlooked. I mean, Jennifer Aniston was a star in her own right? Friends, I know she's done some movies, but like she was, you know, working her way to also like being a star in her own right? And being very successful at what she did. What does everybody care about? Her marriage to Brad Pitt, that he cheated on her with Angelina Jolie, and that they got divorced. And she's been in some relationships since, but not anything to that level, right? She's a 24 degree Libra ascendant. That is a Pisces degree. So again, we kind of don't know a lot about her. There's a little bit of a mirage around Jen Aniston. We don't know a lot about her. I don't. And I, used to be super into pop culture and all that. I think she's funny. She's very funny. Sagittarius, 3rd house. She's got great humor. I think she's an interesting person. I just don't know a lot about her. I think that's the Pisces energy. Now she has Venus at 9 degrees Aries in the 6th house. She also has Saturn in Aries, the North Node in Aries, and Chiron in Aries, all in the 6th house. Follow my drift here. Venus in Aries, 6th house. She's ruled by Venus. Her love language, her way of connecting with people, right? And with the Saturn and North Node in Aries and Chiron in Aries, she was meant to really pursue her own path in her work, 6th house work. That was her destiny. So it was almost the fucking paradox that her husband basically met somebody else on a set while working, got divorced, and now she's on her own. Now she has to stand alone in her work, in her daily life. Just very interesting here. But again, just a common theme that I see. She also has Jupiter in Libra and Uranus in Libra in the 12th house. So in Placidus, it fell into the 12th house, right? Uranus in Libra. Sudden changes in relationships. 12th house is the subconscious. It's energy. We can't control the 12th house in many ways. So it was almost destined that the relationship was going to suddenly end. Maybe it was karmic. Maybe it was destiny. Again, I look at her North Node in Aries and think she was meant to pursue her own path. And when she was with Brad Pitt, I think it all became about Brad, or her and Brad, but nothing about her as an individual autonomously, right? She also had Uranus at 3 degrees Libra. That's a Gemini degree. Angelina Jolie's a Gemini. I don't know. I'm just saying it. It's just weird, right? Okay. So other 2 examples that I'm not going to dive too deeply into their charts, but Courtney Love, Libra rising. What do we know? What's the first thing you think of when you think of Courtney Love? Kurt Cobain, her husband that overdosed and died, right? And their kind of toxic, crazy love affair and etc. We don't know a whole lot about Courtney Love, but we know she's big because of her relationship to Kurt Cobain, because of what happened to Kurt Cobain. Like, it's so crazy to me. It makes me sad as a Libra rising, because I'm like, it's almost always going to be about some other person and not the Libra rising person themselves. And maybe this is just a lesson to us Libra risings, right? We have to forge our own path in some way. We have to find this balance between the other, the opposite, right? Anyway, another good example that I'm not going to go too deeply in is Roman Polanski. If you don't know who Roman Polanski is, he's like a famous movie director and producer. He's produced and directed some of the most popular movies of our time. Now, a lot of you may not know this one because he's older. But back in the day, what was Roman Polanski known for? His wife, Sharon Tate, who was part of the Charles Manson murders. Okay. Now, he happens to have like Uranus and Aries in his 7th house, so sudden death of the spouse by violent means. That makes sense, but again, just odd, right? Next one, Britney Spears. Britney Spears is a perfect Libra rising example. She is so loved. She was such an icon, right? Leo 11th house. She was such a star, a big star. That's the other thing you'll see with this. 11th house, Leo, these are big names. These are people that are known, not all of them, but a lot of them are like superstar legend qualities, right? She had a 2 degree Libra ascendant, which is a Taurus degree. What was she known for? A lot, her body. She was beautiful. Venus, 25, is that 25? Sometimes I can't read my handwriting. 25 degrees Capricorn, 4th house. Her ruling planet, she was the breadwinner, the provider for her entire family. Her family locked her up and put her in a conservatorship so that she could keep financially providing for them. What is she also known for? Her relationships, right? Her and Justin Timberlake, that was a big thing. Then she got like randomly married or whatever, and like to that guy for like 3 days. Then that was over. Then it was, what's the other guy's name? Federline, whatever. That was this huge big thing, right? Everyone is not only obsessed with her, they're obsessed with her relationships, right? She has Jupiter and Scorpio in the 2nd house. She knew how to make money. She had the power, the literal huge power of manifesting and generating finances. Her family took advantage of that. Venus, Capricorn, 4th house. She became the provider. She also has Chiron and Taurus in her 8th house. Taurus being the body. 8th house being shared resources. Chiron, the wound. She was physically put into an institution, physically under conservatorship. Her body was basically owned so that they could take the finances and the resources. Okay, it's crazy. JFK, 19 degree Libra ascendant. That's a Libra degree. Good looking guy, right? You'll notice the pattern. They're all beautiful. They're well loved. People love them but they don't really see them. It's like people love them and they celebrate them, but they also like don't really see them as a human being. They don't really see them for their accomplishments and their work. They see them as some sort of objectified thing, and they also see them for their relationships, right? Like JFK obviously is famous for being assassinated. He was trying to do really great things in the presidency, but what is he also mainly known for? Jackie O. Whether or not Jackie O was involved in his assassination, that's another rumor, but what was also the main focus of JFK? Jackie O, right? His Venus was at 16 degrees Gemini in the 8th house. Okay, 16 degrees is a Gemini degree. What does Gemini rule? Cars. What does the 8th house rule? Death. He also has his Sun in Gemini, Mercury in Taurus, Mars in Taurus, and Jupiter in Taurus, all in the 8th house. So he had a giant 8th house stellium. Okay, and I talked about the 8th house. There can be a lot of things there. The 8th house can sometimes talk about the way we die. He died being shot in a car in the 8th house. Gemini rules cars. Venus there. There's a lot of rumors that he was actually betrayed by Jackie O, right? So it's just weird. And I think that Libra risings, this is why we have to have really good levels of discernment in terms of like, who is the right partners, who are the allies, who are the friends, right? Tom Brady, 17 degrees Libra rising, that's a Gemini degree. What is he most known for besides playing football, right? Gisele Bündchen and the fact that she left him and had remarried, right? It's just a thing, right? His Venus, his ruling planet, is in Cancer in the 9th house. So the Cancer energy, he was known for his family, right? Like beautiful family, like kind of this, he was seen Cancer, right? He was kind of seen as this like motherly, fatherly leader of the football team. Cancer is patriotism. So he was on the Patriots. And in the 9th house, this is the house of the globalism. This is the house of kind of where we reach being seen in a big way, right? So he was really seen as this kind of coach, this kind of leader, this elder in the sport, in the football, right? Cancer's patriotism. He was on the Patriots forever. The 9th house can also be related to like travel and things like that. So that's where his Venus lies. He also has Mars in Gemini in the 8th house. So that's something that's interesting. And the last one was Kendrick Lamar. Now, he's not very much known for his relationships per se, but I would say his Venus rulership at 8 degrees Gemini in the 8th house. 8 degrees is a Scorpio degree. He is known for his hard-hitting lyrics and the deep, visceral, raw truth he shares through lyrics. And Jupiter in Aries in the 7th house, he has a lot of open enemies, like him and Drake's beef. He had beef with some other people. He has a lot of open enemies in that way because of that rulership of Venus in Gemini in the 8th house at a Scorpio degree. He speaks a lot of truth. He says a lot of very like raw, unfiltered type of shit, and people don't like him for that, or they are very triggered by that, right? So that's just an overview of Libra rising. Very interesting archetype, I think, to have. But love to all my Libra risings, and I'll be back soon with Scorpio risings.